as it is time now for a football conversation of historical proportions, I believe, as the news earlier this week, after a distinguished and lengthy career in the NFL world of journalism, Peter King stepping away and going into retirement. And on our D&M Leasing hotline right now is Odyssey NFL insider Peter King. And welcome in to your home of the Dallas Cowboys, Peter. Good afternoon.
Hey, good afternoon. Good to be with you.
Yes, sir. You're with Gavin Dawson, Eric Chiafalo, and your buddy Brian Broaddus. So
Brian Broaddus, long time no chat. How have you been?
I'm doing great, Peter. Congratulations on just a stellar career, my friend. I love you so much, and you did it the right way. You're a true legend, and thank you for getting us all to this point, to where we can all appreciate all the work that you've done.
Well, thanks very much. And look, it's been such a fun career, quite honestly, to do this for the amount of time that I did it. To do it for 40 seasons covering the NFL. And I would not trade anything. I'm just very pleased, but also, sometimes you just know it's time. And I know that it's time to step away and to let the youngsters do it for a while.
I think I always thought you would just keep right on going, Peter. Some writers, I'm like, oh, yeah, maybe the end is near, but I just never got the feeling. How did you know?
Two things. One, my family really was on me. I had been, at the end of the last, including this season, I had double pneumonia. I'm not one who can moderate my workload or my workflow. And at the end of the last 3 seasons, I've been quite ill. And, you have to ask yourself, what are you doing this for? And, I was really kind of worrying my family a bit. And so that was part of it. But the other part was, to do this job and to do it at an extremely high level, which I feel I've done. People have to be the judge of that. But in order to make sure that you're able to spend 10 minutes alone with the winning coach after the Super Bowl, which I've now done 3 years in a row, that takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of preparation time. And so that in and of itself was part of it. But the biggest part is I found myself totally disinterested in things like coaching searches, in things like the scouting combine. I used to love going to the scouting combine, but going to the scouting combine kind of requires, if you're really going to maximize how much you know and how much you can learn, you're out in bars until 1:30 in the morning, 4 or 5 nights in a row. I'm in bed at 9:30 now. I'm an old man. I like to get my sleep. So anyway, when that happens, you just sort of know it's time.
Peter, I always wanted to ask you this question. How does one cultivate sources? How does one, and you and I used to talk so many days and nights, and man, you were such a great source for me. But in your line of work, how did you cultivate the sources that you had?
Well, Brian, you were on the front lines of this, because I remember being in Green Bay in 1995 when the Packers.
God, we loved you there. We loved you when you showed up. We so much.
Yeah, well, I remember being there because on Saturday you'd make your red beans and rice, and
you and Andy Reid loved it.
The smell would go through the all the building. But you know what I remember about 1995 around the Packers? Andy Reid walked up to me in the building one day, and he goes, "Hey, I want to introduce myself, Andy Reid. I'm the tight ends coach, and you have the job that I always wanted. I wanted to be a football writer for Sports Illustrated when I was growing up. That was my career ambition.
You sure did.
And so I said, wow. And so you asked me, how do you build sources? Well, the Sports Illustrated football writer going into Green Bay, knowing that the tight ends coach and later the quarterback coach and then later the head coach of the Eagles and obviously at Kansas City, I'm not saying it was easy, but, Andy Reid wanted to talk to me. And that was a tremendous help. And remember one other thing, Brian. I came around in this business when, in 1989, people won't believe this because of the way things are now. In 1989, Sports Illustrated was higher profile than ESPN.
Yes, sir, it was.
And so I was fortunate because that is when I started my career at SI in 1989. So, that was Michael Irvin once saw me, I think it was 91, and he said, "Oh, my God, Peter King's here." And he yelled out in the locker room, "Hey, guys, we're in a Sports Illustrated game this week." So it's just, that helps when you're in a building and the guys think, "Wow, this is cool. SI's covering us this week."
Peter, where are the great sports writers going to come from now? We're dealing with dying newspapers and things like that. Where are the Peter Kings going to come from?
I think, Brian, that they're going to come from places like The Athletic, which I think is going to become a powerhouse. They got so many bright, young, talented people. I had Kaylin Kaler on my staff. She is a tremendously brave and hardworking, kind of gutsy kid. I call her a kid. I don't know. She's probably 30 years old now, but she was on my staff.
We're all kids. Yeah, right.
Jordan Rodrigue of The Athletic, who covers the Rams, but who does so much more than that. She's immensely talented. Ben Solak, who's only 26 years old, works for The Ringer, writes a great Monday column. I am not despairing about the young talent in the business. You know what I despair about a little bit? Two things. Number one, that so many people in our business who used to work for the Detroit News and the Dallas Morning News and the Arizona Republic, they now work for team sites and for NFL.com, and Roger Goodell signs their paycheck. That's not good for journalism.
No.
But I understand why they have to do it. They need a job. They have to feed their family. But the one other thing I would say, just in general, is that I kind of fear that a lot of the kids in journalism school right now are not going to get the great opportunities I had. I really hope I'm wrong on that, but that's kind of how I look at it.
Football legend Peter King with us here in the GBag Nation. Peter, how long will it take you to respond to all the post-retirement congratulations?
What's crazy is that I've only gotten through about half of my texts so far. I haven't even seen the majority of things in the emails I've gotten and all that stuff and the phone calls. But I don't know. I got time. What do I have to do? I don't have anything to do. I'm going to see the grandkids this weekend out on the West Coast, and that's going to occupy my time. But you know what was really kind of cool? I don't really know Jared Goff that well, okay? But I know him, and I've covered him, and we've had some very good interactions. But he wrote me a text, one of the first texts I got on Monday, and he just said, "Hey, I just wanted to thank you. Thanks for being fair."
Yeah, exactly.
And all that. And that was kind of cool. And, so I've heard from a bunch of people like that, and that's pretty rewarding.
I love it. We're here in Surprise, Arizona right now covering the world champion Texas Rangers. And
let's go Marcus Semien. He's the key guy.
Peter,
I
tell you what,
man. On the Montclair Pedroias, man. On my
how about this?
Team.
How about this, Peter? I'm at a Dodgers game. I'll never forget sitting with you in your scorebook, Dodgers-Pittsburgh at Chavez Ravine waiting on a flight. Both you and I waiting on a flight to go home. And you keep it score, and you're like, I ain't waiting in an airport when I could be at a baseball park. You just, in your retirement, man, you need to get you another scoreboard. Man. Get you another scorebook.
I do love my baseball,
I love you some baseball.
I love keeping score, too,
You do.
Peter King here with you on 105.3 The Fan. Peter, what do you think about the state of the game and where we are in the NFL right now compared to when you came in?
Well, I'd be worried about two things if I were Roger Goodell. One, I'd be worried about this insatiable desire to pursue the money from gambling interests and how you just get, if you're a fan, you're watching the game on TV, you just get banged over the head with it, and you're listening to a game on the radio or you're listening to talk shows, and it's, it seems like a third of the ads are about gambling. I worry that we are going to raise a generation of people who are going to be in gambling rehab 10 years from now. That's one thing. And then the other thing that I've worried about for a long time is the fact that, and look, the NFL has woken up to it, and they're far better on it than they were 15 years ago. But I worry about head trauma, and I worry about a lot of parents looking at the game saying, I would rather have my kid play lacrosse. And, look, there will always be a feeder program because football is so popular and football is beloved. You have to look no further than the state of Texas to know that. But I just hope that the NFL continues to walk the fine line between making it a safe game and making it a great game.
Peter, there's never been, from what I understand, an on-the-record negative thing to say about you, not a single syllable. But has there ever been a contentious back and forth between you and a coach or a player any of your time covering the league and doing all these exclusives that you get?
I remember Mike Holmgren one time when I was covering a Packers-Vikings game and the Vikings won. I just came in and I asked him a couple of questions about the game, and he looked at me and he goes, "You don't care, do you?" And I was shocked. I couldn't believe it. I said, you mean about who won and lost? He goes, yeah. I said, no, I don't care. How can I care? I can't be rooting for the Green Bay Packers, just like I can't be rooting for the Minnesota Vikings. I got to cover it. And look, it was a tough loss, and I understand. And I once had to be, Kevin Gogan had to be separated from going after me one time when he was on the 49ers because I had called him in a column of mine a journeyman, which is what he was. He was on his third team in 5 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he didn't like it. I think he thought it connoted that he stunk. And I didn't think that at all. I just think it meant that he was well-traveled, which is what he was.
I appreciate you as always, Peter. Best of luck to you in
Love
retirement.
you, Peter. Thank you so much for all you've done
Hey,
for
thanks
us.
a lot for having me on, guys. You have a great day, and enjoy the baseball.